Venezuelans abroad on Thursday continued to rally over a disputed presidential election result in their home country, which has sparked deadly protests and a diplomatic fallout, with countries usually friendly to President Nicolas Maduro's now joining in calls for authorities to release detailed vote tallies, and the U.S. announcing it would recognize the opposition candidate as the election winner. Venezuela's Electoral Council on Monday declared Maduro the winner of the July 28 election with 51% of the vote. But the country's opposition says their candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez, received more than double the support of the incumbent president, according to the tallies they were able to access and have made public. The government has so far not shared any data beyond a national total of votes for each candidate, sparking accusations of fraud from the opposition. On Thursday, the presidents of Brazil, Mexico and Colombia agreed over a call to push Venezuela for transparency. In a joint statement, they said, quote, "We call on the electoral authorities in Venezuela to move ahead quickly and let itemized ballot box-level results be known publicly." They added they were willing to support efforts for dialogue and urged against any escalation of violence. Their statement comes as Venezuela's ties with other nations fray over election-related criticisms. Venezuela has expelled diplomats from at least 7 countries. That includes Peru, whose embassy and consulate in Caracas were seen empty on Thursday. Lima has recognized Gonzalez as the election winner and also ordered Venezuelan diplomats out of its country.
Venezuelan electoral authorities to come clean.
After days of calling for Venezuela to come clean on the vote count, Washington said Thursday it rejected Maduro's claim to a third term as president. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said in a statement, quote, "Given the overwhelming evidence, it is clear to the United States and, most importantly, to the Venezuelan people that Edmundo González Urrutia won the most votes in Venezuela's July 28 presidential election." The country's Supreme Court on Thursday accepted Maduro's request to verify the election results. The head of the Supreme Justice Tribunal told State TV presidential candidates will be presenting their vote tallies to the court on Friday. The country is bracing for more demonstrations, with opposition leader Maria Corina Machado calling for mass rallies on Saturday morning. In a video posted on social media, she said they were to back the more than 1,000 people who've been jailed for protesting, while urging her supporters to stay firm, organized and mobilized. The killing of Hamas's top political leader in Iran early Wednesday is fueling concern of a wider Middle East war and threatening to set back chances of an imminent ceasefire deal in the Gaza conflict between Israel and the Iran-backed Hamas. People gathered in the Iranian capital Tehran on Wednesday to mourn Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and demand retaliation. The attack was widely assumed to have been carried out by Israel, coming less than 24 hours after its military said it had killed senior Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr. He's seen here in video released by the Lebanese militant group.
Israel will continue to...
However, the Israeli government has made no claim of responsibility over Haniyeh's killing. Spokesman David Mencer.
We did target Fuad Shukr. He was the number 2 in the Hezbollah organization, a dastardly terrorist. On Ismail Haniyeh, we are not commenting on that particular incident.
Mencer told journalists that Israel remained committed to the Gaza ceasefire negotiations and securing the release of Israeli hostages. Haniyeh had been the face of Hamas's international diplomacy, taking part in the truce talks brokered by Egypt, Qatar and the United States. Qatar condemned Haniyeh's killing, with its prime minister saying on social media, quote, "How can mediation succeed when one party assassinates the negotiator on the other side?" However, Washington has said it still believes a ceasefire was achievable. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told Singaporean TV that his country played no part in Haniyeh's killing.
This is something we were not aware of or involved in. It's very hard to speculate, so I can't tell you what this means. I can tell you that the imperative of getting a ceasefire, the importance that that has for everyone remains. And we will continue to labor that for as long as it takes to get there.
We don't believe that an escalation is inevitable.
U.S. National Security spokesperson John Kirby said there was no immediate signs of escalation, but admitted that risks were, quote, certainly up right now.
Police fired tear gas to disperse crowds of protesters in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, on Thursday, as thousands rallied across several cities over an escalating cost of living and governance issues. Reuters video showed people marching across Africa's most populous nation to show discontent with economic reforms that have led to rampant inflation and inflicted increasing hardship on ordinary Nigerians. In Lagos, armed police watched as protesters marched towards the government house before heading to two locations that were authorized for the protests. Some shopping malls in the city were shut and guarded by a heavy police presence.
We are tired of being hungry. We cannot even feed our children.
Consumer inflation in Nigeria rose to a new 28-year high of 34.19% in annual terms in June. As well as soaring inflation, Nigerians are also grappling with widespread insecurity, which damaged the farming sector, while armed gangs kidnap residents and school children for ransom in the north. President Bola Tinubu has asked citizens to bear with his reforms and has vowed to pursue changes he says are needed to keep the country afloat. He signed a new minimum wage into law on Monday to help workers cope with hardship caused by his economic changes. But many of the country's 200 million people are either self-employed or do not have jobs.
A massive multinational prisoner swap on Thursday saw the release of 24 people, including Americans held in Russian jails, in the largest such exchange since the Cold War.
And now, their brutal ordeal is over, and they're free.
U.S. President Joe Biden said the released include Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, Russian-American journalist Alsu Kurmasheva, and Vladimir Kara-Murza, a British-Russian activist.
The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship.
The exchange was coordinated by Turkey, and this Russian government jet was seen at the airport in Ankara on Thursday. The White House said the U.S. had negotiated the complex trade with Russia and other countries.
This deal would not have been made possible without our allies. Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey, they all stepped up, and they stood with us. They stood with us. And they made bold and brave decisions. Released prisoners being held in their countries who are justifiably being held.
8 prisoners held in the West were part of the swap. Germany confirmed they include Vadim Krasikov. Krasikov is a colonel in the Russian FSB security service who was serving a life sentence in Germany for murdering an exiled dissident in a Berlin park. Russian President Vladimir Putin had indicated he wanted him back. Germany's government said releasing Krasikov was not an easy decision.
What's remarkable about this prisoner swap is the scope and the scale.
Timothy Fry is a professor at Columbia University and the author of a book about Putin's Russia.
Certainly, I think it's a big win for the Biden administration. Of course, one always has to be worried that exchanging prisoners, political prisoners for criminals will only encourage rogue states, not only Russia, but other states as well, from taking innocent foreigners as hostages and using them as bargaining chips.
The Kremlin said the prisoners released by the swap were pardoned by Putin decrees and that the move was aimed at returning Russian captives held
The U.S.
abroad.
Department of Justice has opened an antitrust probe into NVIDIA. That's according to a report by tech industry publication The Information on Thursday. It says the move follows complaints from rivals that the firm may have abused its dominant position in the market for AI chips. Officials will reportedly look at whether NVIDIA pressured cloud providers to buy multiple products. They will also examine whether the company charges customers a higher price for networking gear if they plan on buying AI chips from rivals like AMD or Intel. In a statement to Reuters, the firm said it scrupulously adhered to all laws and always worked to ensure customers are able to choose the best solution. There was no immediate comment from the DOJ. NVIDIA commands about 80% of the market for AI chips. The report says investigators have reached out to its rivals to gather details. US progressive groups and Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren have been pressing the DOJ to investigate the company. Antitrust enforcers in France have already indicated they could bring charges, with concerns including the way Nvidia bundles software and hardware.
This is the airstrike on Gaza the Israeli military says killed the head of Hamas's military wing, Mohammed Deif. The IDF announcing on Thursday an intelligence assessment confirmed his death when their fighter jets struck the site in Khan Yunis on July 13th. Deif is believed to have been one of the masterminds of Hamas's October 7th attack on southern Israel, which triggered the Gaza war. One of Hamas's most dominant figures and top of Israel's most wanted list for decades, Deif rose through the group's ranks over 30 years, developing its network of tunnels and its bomb-making expertise. Hamas neither confirmed nor denied his death, but one official said any word on deaths of its leaders was its responsibility alone. Scores of Palestinians were killed in airstrikes that killed Deif, medics in Gaza say. The announcement came as crowds gathered in Tehran for the funeral procession of Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh. Haniyeh was assassinated in the Iranian capital, with both Iran and Hamas blaming Israel, which hasn't denied or confirmed a role in his killing. Hezbollah and Hamas are backed by Iran. These latest killings have raised concern of a future escalation in hostilities in the Middle East. Israel has said it does not seek regional war, but that it would respond forcefully to any attack. And now, on the 300th day of warfare in Gaza, hopes for a hostage deal and ceasefire have dimmed.